Hello, Fenton here. Welcome back to Factorio Overexplained, Episode 2. Episode 1 we went through getting some coal and some iron and some stone in a very basic manner, which is the whole vibe of the series, if you didn't know. We're going to over-explain everything so that we understand how it works and why it works how it works. So that we can understand, mostly. So I hope you're alright. Thank you for the support on the first video. Thanks for the likes and any new subscribers. I can't remember. I think there were. And if you want to like and subscribe to this video as well, then go for it. I'm gonna just continue with everything that we were doing before anyway. Taking the iron and the stone and being able to make a lot more burner mining drills. In the crafting menu, you can left click, which makes the 1. You can right click and it makes 5. It always makes 5. I don't know why, but that's, you know, you can see down here it will just make 5. Oh, I can do my zooming, can't I? Woo! It's going to make 5 burner mining drills, and then in the same way that it did before, it's going to make all of the intermediate steps, but it's going to make 5 at a time. So that's nice. And you can also control click to make absolutely as many as your inventory can handle. That's not true. Shift click. There we go. You can also then at this point cancel your handcrafting queue. If you've done this and you've gone like, oh wow, this is far too many. You can left click to cancel 1 item at a time, and you can right click to cancel 5 items at a time, or you can what was it? Shift left click in the same way. So it's the same instructions, just reversed. So I could shift click to make as many as I want, and I can shift click to cancel all of them, or I can right click to make 5 at a time, and then I can right click to cancel 5. The thing with this is that you can see the intermediate products that need to be made. So for the burner mining drill, the gear wheels and the stone furnaces, it won't undo that if you halfway through a craft and you decide actually this is a bit much. It won't undo those intermediate steps. It's mostly not a problem, but let's just make some more burner mining drills, shall we? Oh no, we're out of coal. Oh, I need to issue a retraction because I don't know how maths or numbers work. I need to issue a retraction here in my notes while I was just briefly checking everything was okay with the video. The mining speed of a burner mining drill is 0.25 per second, which means it takes 4 seconds to get 1 item, which means it would take 20 seconds to mine 5 stone for the furnace, which is of course made with 5 stone. Not, as I said, 5 seconds to mine enough stone for 1 furnace. That is incorrect. Alright, let's go mad, shall we? These are chained together. The output of one goes into the input of the other, and you can control click to take them out. Some people like to do this in pairs. That's totally fine. Z to drop 1 at a time, and that gets the whole chain going. You could also... I should have explained, I've just realised I haven't explained. I'm not doing a very good job of over-explaining. When you've got your ghost, you've got your plan for this, obviously it goes red when you can't put it down because there's only be built on resources. You can press the R key to rotate it, that's the E key. You can press R to rotate it around. Wow, I can't believe I forgot that. There's also nothing stopping you from rotating an already placed building. So there's no reason why we couldn't chain these in a big loop like this. You can shift R to rotate the other way, which would have saved me several clicks there, but this isn't a Mario minimum A presses run, although that would be an interesting Factorio run. Minimum E presses. There's a piece of coal there. You could chain these together in a 6er. It doesn't really matter, as far as I can tell, in a big chain or in groups of 2. Obviously in groups of 2 it's easier to manage if you wanted to add more. If you press Q on an item and you have that in your inventory, it will automatically take them from your inventory, which is very helpful. Q again clears your cursor, but if you just press Q on something, you can even press Q on the raw resources, which is the only thing I think this works for, raw resources. If you press Q on something that you can mine, it takes miners from your inventory. The only thing obviously with doing this is then once you've added 2 more, you have to then rejig everything slightly. So I suppose in a minimum key presses run that would be inefficient. I'm desperately racking my brain for something I thought of while I was offline, like, oh, why does nobody mine like this? I think it was doing the coal like this into a big box. Yeah, that was it. That was it. I was thinking about why I very rarely see people do the coal in the same way as the stone. And I think it's because if I make a chest here and do this, and then take 4 burner inserters and do this, obviously these are limited to 50. So you would need a chain of 16 of these before you could store as much as a single wooden chest, and then even iron chests have 32 storage even. You'd need 32 of these in the chain before you could store as much. And then obviously when the coal is in here, if I take all of this coal out by control, so what I did there is you can control left click each one, but the game is smart enough to know when you hold left on your mouse that you're going to do this. This is just what you want to do. You don't have to click each of an individual one, as long as left click and control are both depressed at the same time as you roll your cursor over everything. You will just collect it in the same way that when you do the opposite, when you hold Z and roll them over, it knows that that's a fresh operation. You don't have to press Z every time. Right, if just for argument's sake, do this instead, I could load this chest with coal, take all the coal out with a control click, and then with the coal in my cursor, control click them in, and then that would burn the 50 coal into this. I feel like this is probably easier, but this is actually totally viable, and I thought about it while I was laying in bed at night, pondering existence, and I'm not going to go any further with that joke because it doesn't sound like a joke, it doesn't sound very funny. Buying as much coal as we can in here, take the iron out. I can make 30 more burner mining drills, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just start making a touch of copper. I think 2 should be plenty. I don't know why I built the 2 when I had them, I just kind of forgot. And we'll go there, 1,200 copper, 1,000 copper. I'm guessing that from the thing over here. Expected resources, 1,000. That should be more than enough. And then a couple of furnaces. And so this is, I mean, I guess this is quite slow. It's no slower than this. Obviously you've only got 4 at a time here. It doesn't make any difference, it's irrelevant. If you're an expert and you're wondering why I'm not putting the coal in my toolbar, it's because I don't want to have to explain that just yet. So I'm just holding the coal in my cursor, holding control, rolling it over. It will add a stack at a time. There is a mod for even distribution, but it's pretty much irrelevant for this early stage in the game, and definitely irrelevant for a beginner. Just, you want to fill this with with coal, so that it just works for as long as possible. You may notice that the crafting speed here of this stone furnace is 1. That just means it takes the base amount of time. So however long this is taking, does it say how long it's taking in here? Craft time, 3.2 seconds. This is taking 3.2 seconds, when the mining speed of this is 1 in 4 seconds, 0.25, which is why when we were going before, we can see that that means that there'll be a break of 0.8 seconds between getting the next one. Because this takes 4, This takes 3.2, sorry. But this operation takes 4 seconds, so that's why there is a bit of a lag, and I didn't explain that properly before, but I have explained it now. My stone is out of fuel, but that is okay. Right, let's plough on, shall we? Let me just go as quickly as I can. No, that's wrong. That's the other reason why you don't do that, is I took the coal out of the miners when I should have been taking it out of the chests, but whatever, it's fine. So these have run out because I've taken the last coal out too early, but obviously as long as you don't lose all 8 at once, which is like statistically impossible, I would wager, it will just catch up with itself eventually. How's everybody doing then? I'm good. As I say, thank you for the support. I said it early because I wanted to make sure that I did my like and subscribe thing, which I kind of forget about doing most of the time. And I'm making the conscious effort to do that. I'm not going to drop these with control, I'm going to drop these with Z because I don't have enough coal in my inventory to actually... so satisfying. To actually put 50 in everything, so this should be more than enough. Right, now that we've got this sorted, this will be 1,000 iron if we left this and fuel wasn't an issue, but I suspect like it might be. Let's think about electricity, shall we? Now this is the first proper hurdle. This is quite confusing. Electricity is over here in the... well, it's not even, it's half and half. That's why it's quite difficult. In the early game, your only option is burning water, or boiling water if you want to use the scientific term. Boiling water to make steam, to power steam engines, to generate electricity. Your starting area will always have a bit of water, always, even if you, in the options, you set the water to nothing. The game is still nice enough to realise that you have to have some water to progress, at least without any mods, and give you some water. Now this... oh, we need electronic circuits for this pump. I'm not going to explain that, I'm just going to go and get some copper when the time is right and just make one. But an electronic circuit is made up of iron and copper, basically. So as long as you can see here as I... whoop, no, not Control 2, Control 1. I've opened the console, Control 1, there we go. No, I've forgotten all of the buttons for my screen drawing thing. There we go. 5 iron and 3 copper plates. The 3 copper plates are red, we don't have them. We need to go and get them. You need to pump the water out of the body of water. You need to put it into a boiler, which needs also fuel, and then pump the output of steam into a steam engine. And then you need to connect the steam engine with electricity poles, electricity pipes, electricity hoses to what needs electricity. We are in what's colloquially termed the burner phase, where everything you're doing is powered by coal, which thankfully it doesn't last very long. So let's try and leave the burner phase and enter the mid-early game, I suppose you could call it. And I'm going to take my phone out of my pocket and check the time and assume that I've been recording for about 10 minutes, and so try and hurry things up slightly. Give me all of the iron, please. Flush with iron. Copper, not so much. You do need some copper, obviously, to leave the burner phase and start thinking about electricity. It's time for some calculations, folks. The best part of any game of Factorio. Let's build a pump. Massive handcrafting queue down here because it needs gear wheels, electronic circuits. The circuits need copper cables and a pipe needs iron. So yeah, alright. Let's put the offshore pump down and start looking at it as an entity. Right. Pump speed 0 of 1,200 a second. You'll be pleased to hear that water never runs out. This will have infinite water, 1,200 water, from now until the heat death of the universe. Or YouTube goes bust, whichever happens first. It also doesn't need electricity to function on its own, which is great. Remember that you've got Alt mode on at all times by pressing the Alt key on your keyboard to see that this is the output and it's going to be water. Let's build a few pipes. We'll right click these pipes to build 5. Actually, I'm going to just right click a whole bunch because I don't want to make as many as my inventory can fit, but obviously if I shift left click it, I'll make 808, so I'm just going to right click a whole bunch to add 5 at a time to my queue and start moving this water around. You'll see there that, again, this is Alt mode in the pipes, which is why you just need Alt mode on all the time. You can see this pipe is now filled with water. Each segment of pipe can hold 100 water, which is useful information, I suppose, although not strictly critical. Pipes, I have 1,000 hours in the game and I do not understand how pipes work. It's something to do with it balances the volume of what's in all of the pipes amongst all of the pipes. But because obviously this is pushing 1,200 water into this segment and then it balances it all out and so on, it just basically fills the pipe. That's all you need to know. Let me build a boiler and a steam engine and put them down so we can have a look, shall we? So we can see here, again, Alt mode is showing me the inputs and the outputs at all times without having to hover over it. These take water, and this two-way arrow shows you that the water can go either in or out, which is mostly so that you can chain them in a row. If the how do I do an arrow? That's right, that way. If they only went, hello? What the dickens was that? Oh my goodness. If the water only went this way, and you had another boiler here, then I mean, I guess that wouldn't hugely matter. But the point is the water can go backwards and forwards. This basically acts as a very large segment of pipe, and the steam is going to come out here. Man, this drawing tool is so good. This is why it took me so long to start this series, just as a quick aside. I've been having this thought for months, like, why has nobody done this? And then it's because it's actually impossible to find a decent piece of software that does this without spending lots of money. And I didn't spend lots of money. And I didn't pirate it either. And if I could remember what it was called, I would tell you, but also, it's mine, you can't have it. Burns fuel to turn water into steam. It consumes water, it's consuming 60 water a second. Which means, I think I did find a way to do draw and zoom at the same time. Oh my god. Oh no, I can do zoom and not lose control of my mouse and thing. If I do control 1 and then press T, I believe I can type. Right, so one pump is 1,200 a second, but one boiler can take 60 a second. So 1,200 divided by 60 is 20. So that means that means one pump can supply 20 boilers consistently. The boiler is 60 water a second in, and the pump is 1,200 a second out. So we can chain 20 of these boilers together. Am I going to chain 20 at this point? No. It's too much. So let's connect this up. And click it. No, fuel. It's interesting this doesn't have a water input like every other building, but still. And we can see here that the output of the steam is going to be on this side. So when we put our boiler down and we connect it up like this, the steam will go out of here into the boiler. The steam engine, I should say. Now let's have a quick look at what the steam engine says. It says consumption 30, 0 of 30, and it consumes steam. And this outputs steam. And it outputs 60 a second. So one boiler, which has more than enough water, can make 60 steam a second, and one steam engine can consume 30 steam a second, which means, and I'm going to just rotate this around because I wouldn't get another one there because of that annoying piece of water. That actually means that one boiler can supply 2 steam engines, like so. So, if you add all of that up, that means you can have 20 boilers for one offshore pump and 40 steam engines. Each steam engine outputting a maximum of 900 kilowatts. So 40 times 900 is 36,000. Is that right? Yes. 3.6 megawatts, I believe. But you got a problem with this. The problem is that you have to fuel it. We can fuel it. Let's go and stock up on coal because I put it all in the thing and take all of this iron ore and stuff out. Am I really only going to get to talk about boilers in this episode? I feel like it might just be boilers. They are complicated. It is one of the things on the subreddit that I keep seeing. It's like, why do my boilers not work? I've strung 8,000 boilers together and it's the ones at the end aren't working. Here, have some more coal. The best thing about this Z trick is that it doesn't then put them on the floor. As long as you're holding Z to start with, it doesn't start putting them on the floor. I'm still holding the Z key. Oh, it has! Wow, I didn't know that. You have to be holding Z for quite some time, though, for the game to realise, oh, I think it actually wants to put them down. I think he's actually trying to drop this coal for some reason. It's interesting that it's also dropping it in the closest available space. I've never noticed this before. Even I've learnt something here today. And this is why I did this, because I knew this would happen. I knew that in me trying to explain things, I would also learn something. You can hold the F key to pick items up on the ground as you walk over them. That's the F key next to D. F for forward focus. Right, I should stop doing that. It's just my favourite part of the game, to be honest with you. Why did I come here? I wanted coal, didn't I? I wanted coal. Give me some more coal. Coal has a fuel value of 4 megajoules. I don't understand megajoules and megawatts. I know it's like the amount of energy, the amount of work that a joule can do in a second or something, but I don't understand it. Consumes burnable fuel. Max consumption 1.8 megawatts, but I mean I don't understand how 4 megajoules. Right, anyway, let's drop a piece of coal into here. That burnt it very fast, as you can see, but it did output some steam. You can't click these in the same way that you can click this. They don't do anything, but if you look over here, we can see that it is full of steam. And the steam temperature is 165 degrees, and I don't know why, because it's totally irrelevant to know that. Steam is not very realistic in this game. It will just exist. You can put it in fluid tanks, and it will just exist forever as steam. And if I just put even more coal in here, this will eventually fill up. You can see... Oh, no, I've pressed a whole combination of wrong buttons there. It's now just full of steam. This will stop burning because the output is full, which is very handy, so you don't make more... You don't just burn the coal forever. It knows that the output is full. But these are just going to have the 200 of 200 steam that this can hold, and it will only then burn it when electricity is needed. All you need to do to hook up electricity is build some electric poles, and electric poles are the only thing that you can use for this in the early game, and it needs wood. So I really should have chopped some trees down before I started doing this. I'm just right-clicking, holding right-click on the trees to get some wood. Thankfully, electric poles are quite cheap, but you will need a lot of them in the early game, so I'm just going to go ahead and shift-click this to start making all 24 that I can manage to make. The downside of shift clicking is that it has to make all of the intermediate ingredients first, so it's going to then make 24 copper cables before it then makes the electric poles. If you were to click one at a time, it would at least, you know, these would slowly start filling up your inventory. Well, this actually makes 2 small electric poles, doesn't it? I didn't notice that. Look, 2 small electric poles. Zoom in as well for you, for people who preferring the zoom function. There we go, I went too far on that, which is, you know, my brand. Electric poles. Electricity poles have an area of which they are affecting. You can see that when you either have it in your inventory, supply area 5x5, or you can see that over here on the side, supply area 5x5. Wire reach 7.5. I don't know how you can have 7.5. That basically means that it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then on the 8th space, you can see the wire is not connected. 7 squares, you're alright. The wire will connect. 8 squares, no. And that will work diagonally as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I guess that's why, because technically it is going diagonally. So that's fine. That's fine, but then the furthest it can reach diagonally is there. So I guess even though it's on the grid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Even though it's on the grid, it is still obviously affected by line of sight and stuff like that. Ignore what I did there with removing the wires. I'm not going to go into that right now. It's not relevant. It might be relevant later. So, as you're moving your poles over, the electricity poles over, you'll see the things that it's affecting. They will get this blue outline. Oh, this obviously flashing symbol just means there's no electricity. I should have explained that. This is, after all, an over-explained run. What I'm going to quickly do is show you my preferred way of setting up boilers and steam engines, which does also involve some extra pipes. My handcrafting queue has gone crazy. What I like to do is pairs like this, because if I turn the grid on quickly, can't turn the grid on and have this in my inventory at the same time, you'll see these are 3 high. And if you've ever worked with numbers before in the same way that I have, you'll realise that 2 times 3 is 6, which is less than 7. Which means that you can tie together these sets of boilers like this, obviously because the wire reach is 7 in a straight line. All 4 of these are now not only connected to the power poles, they're connected to each other, and the power poles are connected. So this is now one electricity network. And you can see that by clicking any power pole, anything that is moving electricity around in your network. You can open the electricity network info for everything connected to this set of wires. If I were to put this here, like this, and put a completely separate wire pole here, this is a separate electricity network. But anyway, there you go. So then you can do this in pairs. You can leave the gap 1 space for the power pole like this, pair of boilers, and just don't forget to connect them up with the pipe in between. So this is all now full of water. This is my preferred way of doing it, and it's best to do it in a line, because as you get to the point where you're going to be moving items around on belts, you've got a line here to move the coal down and a space here to insert. Let me draw this for you. We haven't talked about belts yet, but just imagine... I can do straight lines, can't I? Belts will come this way with coal on it and a very special item called an inserter, which, oh my god, that's going to be an episode, I tell you, is going to... Well, it's not going to insert it there because that would be madness. It's going to insert the coal automatically for us. You see? You see what I'm talking about. For now, this is just how I like to do it. What do we do with electricity? That's a very good question. I feel like I should quickly talk about... I can turn the grid off now, can't I? I'll very quickly, to sum up this episode, talk about exactly how we are progressing here. Now, you may notice that we don't really have much that we can build. We've talked about this one, we've talked about this one, we've talked about this, we've talked about this, we've talked about this. Doesn't really leave much else for building rockets, does it? Now, hold on to your butts. I'm going to go and press up here. Or what I'd rather do is press the T key to open the tech tree. Good lord. Yeah, you're right. This is ultimately the progression of Factorio. This is what you are doing. You are building so that you can get research, to get more complicated buildings, to get more complicated research, to research how to build a rocket so that you can get into space and leave. To make research, you may notice in our intermediate products we already know how to make red science packs. It goes red is tier 1, green is tier 2, blue is tier 3. Yellow and purple are kind of almost the same. You can do either yellow or purple first. And then back to white. White science is the last science. There's also grey military science, which we won't need in this playthrough because I've turned the biters off. But this is your progression, and so you just start with red science. You need to make red science to start with, and thankfully we've already got it unlocked. And it needs copper plates and iron gear wheels. If we open our tech tree again, we can see here that this is... Let me get my cursor off that so it's not in the way. This is what we have selected to research. It costs 10 red science packs, which is this number here, not to be confused with this number here, which is the amount of time it takes to consume that science pack, which is essentially irrelevant until you get to the infinite science researches at the end. Like, it just takes some time, basically. Time is really not going to be the factor, and this is what that research will give you. There's nothing stopping you from, in this screen, hovering over the items and seeing what they are, what they will cost, what they will roughly do, things like that. We can research lights. These balloon lights are part of the mod, so you can see for most things you don't have it, but for mod items you've got this blue special text here to tell you that actually this is part of a mod and what mod pack it is from. And this is just the mod that I have added so that it never gets dark in the game, just to facilitate YouTube streaming a bit easier, because if the game got really dark all of a sudden, you're all squinting at your mobile phone screens. Wouldn't be very fun, would it? So gun turret we're not going to need. Military we're not going to need. Obviously some of the military stuff has to have red science, because red science has always got all you've got room for at the start. And the daddy, obviously, or the mummy, you know, if the mother is the breadwinner of the family, okay, that's the end of that joke, is the automation, which is why it's the very first one in the list. It only costs 10, and it gives you assembly machines, which lets you basically start automating everything. So let's quickly do that. How do you do that? You say, well, we can make the 10 automation science packs, no problem. 5 at a time, so it's going to make the 5 iron gear wheels, and we've got copper plates, so here we go. What do we do with them? Used by labs for research. Right, labs are in production. Let's make a lab, shall we? This uses a lot of intermediate products. These are a pain to build by hand. If you see down here. So this first, well, the science packs are being done, so then we need 10 iron gear wheels and 15 copper cables, which are going to be turned into the 10 green circuits, which we haven't had any need for. Oh yes, we have. They were in the water pump, weren't they? 2 more iron gear wheels to be turned into 2 transport belts, which we definitely haven't used because that's a whole kettle of fish. And then that's going to be 1 science lab. So while this is going, I can show you this. So if you look here, the lab recipe shows you everything, and it's a 2-second craft time. But you're saying, well, this is taking more than 2 seconds, isn't it? Yes, because underneath that is the total raw ingredients. 36 iron plates and 15 copper cables. You need those to turn into the gear wheels, the circuits, the transport belts, etc. So then it's showing you the total raw crafting time of 22 seconds. So if you've got 10 iron gear wheels, 10 electronic circuits and 4 transport belts on you, yeah, you can click this, it'll make you a lab in 2 seconds. If you've only got the raw ingredients, the 36 iron plates and the 15 copper plates, it's going to take you 22 seconds. There's no more breakdown than that. Like if I made 4 transport belts quickly, even though this makes 2 at a time, ignore that, I'm a pro. It's still going to show you 22 seconds, but obviously the craft time will be shorter because we've already got the transport belts now. But anyway, right, let's put our lab down and put our science packs in it. So you can see here are the 7 different inputs for the lab. Red, green, as I say, military, we won't need in this playthrough. I might just make some for the sake of finishing the tech tree, it depends on how far we go. Chemical, aka blue, production, aka purple, utility, aka yellow science, and space science is white, which is end game. You don't ever need space science to win the game, because once you've launched a rocket you've won. But providing you launch a rocket under certain conditions, you'll get space science back, and then that allows you to play the infinite end game of just researching and making the factory grow. Right, let's put our 10 science packs in, shall we? Nothing's happening. Look, there's no blooming power. There's no power to it. It needs power. Look, it needs 60 kilowatts of electricity. So this is the first. This is why we did electricity first, because this is the first building that will need electricity. Again, the power poles, the blue square around it is the area that is going to be affected by electricity. So as long as we put this within the blue area, you can see that the electricity pole is being highlighted there as we add it, as we move it into its catchment area. We know that it's going to get the electricity, or we could do it the other way. We could take a power pole, and the blue highlight shows us the buildings that are going to be affected by this. Right. If we open up our network, our satisfaction of electricity is 0 out of 0, so that means the amount of power currently being processed out of power currently acquired. So obviously nothing, because we've got the boilers, but we've had got no demand. The production, we could make up to 3.6 megawatts, but we're not making any at the moment because we have no need to, because the satisfaction is 0, and accumulators will get later. You can also see here, now that we've added buildings to our electricity network, we can see here the lab is going to potentially be using electricity, but currently it's not using any, and our 8 boilers are our production side of the graph. So now that we've got electricity to the lab that we need, we can actually add it to here. And again, it's not doing anything. You know why that is? Because I didn't actually specify that I wanted to start the research of this automation. So there we go, let's start. Right, everything's kicking off now. The lab is working. It is doing the thing. It has a research speed of 1, which just basically means that it will take 10 seconds to consume 1 science pack, and it's going to need to do that 10 times. Your research speed goes up as you research more research speed researches, which is an interesting sentence. So there we go. It's consuming all of the 60 kilowatts that it needs, and that is shown by the fact that this green bar is totally full. Now if we go into our electricity network, we can see what's going on. We're producing 3.6 megawatts. but we're only actually using the 60 kilowatts from the one lab. And if we scroll the graph back slightly to the 10-minute mark, we can see here that we weren't doing anything. Slight blip there, don't know what that is. Oh, I think as you put the science packs into the lab, it uses a momentary second of electricity to work out if it actually needs to do anything. And then now, there we go. This is the actual. It's moving very slowly. Look at the steam engines ticking along. It's actually one of the first things we've got with a. Obviously, the burner mining drills have some animation, but these have a really nice animation, don't they? Look at that. So it's all ticking over nicely, isn't it? You can see the pumping speed of our pump is very, very low because it just works so quickly, and the pipes are full, and these are full of water. Oh, it's done. There we go. So you get that nice little sound effect. You get the nice flashing lights telling you that your automation science is finished. And now if we go, oh, actually, quickly. I've turned this off because obviously I'm a pro. But I'll turn this on for this. Enable recipe notifications. Confirm. If we go into here now, it's not going to show you because I only just turned it on. This would be highlighted because it's a new recipe that we've just unlocked. The same with the long-handed inserter. So we can make assembly machines now. And now we can make assembly machines, we can start automating stuff. And we've got electricity, so we might be able to think about using electric mining drills. But that means we're going to have to start talking about belts and arms and all kinds of stuff, which is going to be a whole video in its own right, to be fair. I will quickly, while I'm doing my spiel, just research lights for you, because I'm definitely... I might then be able to turn Afraid of the Dark off now that we've got lights. Yeah, I will do it. I'm not actually sure I need to do this, but whatever. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying what's going on here, if you're learning something, if you're finding this valuable, then don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to check out some other stuff on the channel as well, let's load up on coal and everything here that we need. Puzzle games and stuff like that is here on the channel as well. If you're new, I don't stream or anything currently, but I might start thinking about doing that in the future. Copper is full. I'll just load these up. How much stone did we get out of all of that? This chest is definitely full, isn't it? Yeah, look at that. Crazy. I believe, and I might be proved wrong here, if I make an iron chest, cancel this set of things, I believe you can overwrite a wooden chest with an iron chest. Yeah, you can see it's going to go green here, so we're going to get the wooden chest back in our inventory. Oh yeah, the one that we shot at the beginning of the game, which has got no health. And then the 16 slots from the stone up to here were previously existing, and then these extra 16 slots because the iron chest has a storage of 32 slots. I keep holding shift when I mean to hold control. What the bloody hell is going on there? There we go. It's also telling us exactly how many is in there. 832. That sounds like a lot, but we're going to get through that quite quickly. Especially once we start building rows of stone furnaces. But hopefully we'll get to that in an episode or two, depending how long it takes me to explain the basics of electric mining drills and belts. There's a lot to talk about with belts, and I feel like I'm just going to talk about it as and when it comes up, rather than going through here's everything you need to know about belts straight away. Especially combined is the word I wanted there, with inserters. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of minutiae. But yes, anyway, as I was saying, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.